Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review, and today I'm going to be reviewing Conclave, which is finally out in cinemas here in the United Kingdom. It premiered back at London Film Festival. It's been out in America for a few weeks, and today it has finally released here, and I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the film. I did see this film last week at a Cineworld's member screening, so I've sort of, unlike other videos we do, I've been able to sort of sit on my thoughts for this and mull over it for a sort of week or two now, and I know I don't always get the chance to do so, but it's been really interesting taking this approach into this review. It's not something I can always do for everything, particularly if we've got embargoes to meet and whatnot, so it's always a different type of video when I'm doing this. But before I talk about the film, I do want to, of course, plug our socials. If you're watching this review, if you're new to the channel, I guess we could say with a film like this, we're heading into Oscar season, aren't we? The blockbusters are drying somewhat. There's a couple more to come, but at the same time as that, we are getting more and more dramas. I'm behind on a couple I need to see. Next thing we know, the nominations are going to be out, and then we'll have the Oscars live stream. So we're heading into that time of year already, alongside Christmas. So you can go get us on our linktree.com. That'll put you through to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, our Letterboxd, and now our Blue Sky, I guess we can say, where we announce our videos, where we chat and reply to things like that. So if you want to follow us to find out what we're working on, when videos are going to go, of course, please do so. And if you want to find out about other releases, obviously do subscribe to the channel, help us fight the algorithm, maybe like the video, comment it if you've got some thoughts on this film, because it's not every day we talk about religion on the channel. It's a film channel. I'm not a religious person myself. The idea of a film about electing the next pope is something that I really wouldn't care for in a non-horrible way. I didn't see The Two Popes, although I heard that was a very good film a couple of years ago. But this one's a little bit different. This one is directed by Edward Berger, who did the quite incredible adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front 2 years ago now, I think it was. And that film was remarkable. And it's always interesting to me to look at a director, I don't want to call it a breakthrough film, but when they've had this gargantuan award-driven film, it's been nominated everywhere, it's won loads of awards everywhere, it's always interesting to see, what is that director going to do next? And Conclave is a really interesting approach. It's a novel that's been adapted for the big screen by Edward Berger, starring Ralph Fiennes as well, one of Britain's best actors. And for me, as I mentioned, with no religious background, who's here for the film perspective, the thought of, it's a film about choosing the next pope, I was like, oh, okay, eyes roll. Typical festival film is a way to put it, and it's only really until I saw a trailer, and to be fair, I went like, I was sold on it for Edward Berger, but I was sold on it Ray Fiennes as well, but I only really was bothered about the story until I saw a trailer. I was like, oh, we're getting a political, you know what, there's going to be some shenanigans going on. Is there going to be an expose within the church? Those kinds of questions, and the trailer did a great job at making me want to watch the film, so there I was on the screening, and I've got to say, I thought this film was absolutely incredible. I loved it. It is exactly my type of film. I think political thrillers are the most underrated. Oh, someone says it's political, it's the church. Absolutely, it's political, it's the church. It is almost a hidden gem. I'm trying to compare it to something. I saw someone compare it online to Succession. I sat there thinking, this is like Game of Thrones in the space of 2 hours. We've got certain parties going and vying for the crown. We've got people exposing the others. We've got secrets unravelling from old governments and whatnot. It's phenomenal. It's so intriguing, and I've got to say, the direction to follow up a war film with a war for a religious spot, I thought was a really great idea. And I've got to say, so much of that sticks with Ralph Fiennes in the leading role, who obviously most people know playing a villain of kinds. You might think of Voldemort, in Bruges, so many great performances, so many great films, great comedy as well, looking at the Wes Anderson stuff he's done, but having him play essentially the only clean person within the church, someone who's wanting to do his, I don't know what the term is, do his previous pope right, a very close friend of his, and elect the next person and run it in a measured way. Now, as I said, I don't know anything about religion, so I don't know how conclaves work normally. I just remember as a kid, the smoke comes out the chimney, and then you know, well, you don't know if the next pope's been elected. Doesn't happen often, obviously, in our lifetimes, but it is something that is interesting, and the premise going into the voting for that, I thought worked wonders. Some real life parallels that went on with the church in the UK with a certain archbishop resigning. Those sorts of thematics are included within this, which I thought was really interesting. And then bringing back religious ideologies We've got the traditional Italians, that sounds really sort of racist, it's not, but you've got the Italians who believed in the church should go the way it was. Essentially the far right doesn't hide from that. You know, we can't let these people become a pope, and then the camera pans to a black actor. So it's one of those where the film measures in some really real undertones, certainly reflective of what's happening today. And then at the same time, you've got the other people thinking, well, we as a church need to be not only more inclusive, but evolution's come on, and the previous pope did this, and his legacy would be torn up inside days, so we now need to elect this person. And I just thought it was a fascinating insight. I've got no idea if it's actually like this, how it happens. You know, they're all locked up, they can't speak to the outside world for days, there's all these shenanigans going on. I thought it was really wonderful. I had an absolutely great time watching this. I was fully invested from the opening scene through to the closing scene. I think Ralph Fiennes gives a phenomenal performance. A lot of people are talking about Oscars for him. Now, it's not clear what the race is for Best Actor at the Oscars yet. I've heard about Queer with Daniel Craig. People still talking about Timothée Chalamet, not only for Dune, but they're talking about the Bob Dylan film, which is coming out in the UK in January. And we've got the Ralph Fiennes film. We'll have the, you know, he's not won the Oscar storyline that goes with it. Now, it's not his best work by any means. He's great in this film. And I think it's a very layered performance trapped within quite a simplistic character. I'm not saying his character's simple, but from a morality standpoint, he is on the side of what is right to do. He isn't playing the Game of Thrones. He's the guy, he's the hand of the king. He's the one that's got to accept and put the next person on that throne. He's not picking him, but he's got to be neutral in it. So then the supporting cast really come through. And I think this is where the film really starts to excel. When you've got the likes of Stanley Tucci that are cropping up, playing a somewhat different role than what we'd imagine him to be in other things. You've got John Lithgow as well, playing exactly what you'd want John Lithgow to play in this kind of thing. The cast is absolutely nailed on. And it's really interesting spending time with certain characters in certain moments. One minute you think someone's going to be crowned the Pope, and the next minute there's an expose that's going to come out about him. And it's a really interesting piece of work that it's set over a couple of days, if that. And I really enjoyed what this film does. And then I'm going back to the direction. The fact you could be tense about a film about picking a Pope, it's full credit to Edward Berger with this. I am excited to see what he does next. I think it's 2 for 2 with great dramas with him now. 2 completely different films. And I think this is a film that people will be talking about come award season. I guess I can add with that. I'd imagine this is the film that performs better with BAFTA than maybe the Oscars. Not with a British bias as such, but it just feels like the sort of film that the BAFTAs would be far more open to. I don't think this will have any sort of religious people jumping out saying this is disgraceful, this is this is that. I think it's a really, really interesting concept to look into this specific part of the religion and turn that into a film. And I've got to give it full credit for that. So it's going to be a somewhat shorter review. I didn't give another glaring positive, the score. I thought the score was superb. But I'm just going to sort of tag along with that and say this isn't the kind of film that's going to commercially perform. This isn't the kind of film that's going to sit in cinemas for months at a time. I feel this is the kind of film people will go to if this were to be accoladed down the line. If this was going to win all these awards, then it would be at the cinemas. Then I think people would go. I don't think it's that interesting for people, again, like myself, who aren't religious, who don't particularly care for religion. At the moment, you've got films like Wicked out, you've got other big releases coming. It's not going to be at the top of people's list to see. But I did really enjoy this, and I definitely recommend it for people to watch if they can get around to watching it. If you're in it for Oscar season, get onto it as early as you can. I do think this will be in the conversation, and I hope this film does well because it was a superb film. So that's going to keep this review short and sweet. I hope you've enjoyed it. And as I said before, I do want to know what people think of this film. It's not really something I've spoken about with too many people. So that's going to do it for this review today. Thank you all for watching, for subscribing. It's been a really busy time on the channel. I'm literally recording this now. This is going to be uploaded in the next few hours. As I'm uploading this, I'm going to be editing the final part of our Harry Potter casting series, where we will talk about Ralph Fiennes because we're doing the Dark Wizards this time, so we're going to be casting a new Voldemort. So if you're into Harry Potter, you're curious about the HBO reboot, we're on the last episode. That's going to come out tomorrow. The first 2 chapters right now. We've got the last Mount Rushmore coming next week. We're doing Christmas films because we're segueing into Christmas time of December. And then we've got Skeleton Crew starting on Tuesday now, as it's come a day earlier, which has messed up our schedule. So there's a lot happening on the channel. There'll be a lot more reviews and videos for you to check out if you're into that. So once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.